All right, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to Card Talk. I'm Ryan, joined as always by Tyler and Lou. And we're going to start today's episode talking about the Super Bowl. I must say, if you my hot take of the week last week or 2 weeks ago with the Super Bowl was absolutely atrocious. It was awful. I'm not sure any of our hot takes were right, but I know mine was absolutely. I said Chiefs by 10. Maybe I meant lose by 10. That's probably more realistic. But Tyler,
Or not score 10.
yeah, I mean, what an all-around game by the Buccaneers. I mean, just dominating.
Yeah, I can go on. I can say, that I nailed it before Wild Card weekend. But yeah, they just dominated. Their defense was nasty. It was funny. A couple of people hit me up in DMs, which was fun, of like old conversations that we'd had. They just they were the more talented team everywhere. Defensive line.
Yeah,
And Brady just my one buddy's always like, every year Super Bowl comes around, it's like bet every under. Everyone just gets excited. They go with crazy prop lines, and the games just are methodical, and defense a lot of times plays a much more important factor. There's 2 weeks of game planning that goes into it, and was there anything more obvious than Gronk being like the guy? No, but it's like
literally nothing. It's so unbelievable. He was plus 1,400 to score the first touchdown. Did you know that?
Yeah, and it's like, who else was going to score the first touchdown?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the Chiefs' offensive line didn't do Mahomes any favors. I mean, they said he had run 496 yards in the game before throwing the ball. Like, I mean, was running for his life. Like, some of the best throws I've seen that were incomplete. I mean, hit the dudes in the hands.
Yeah, Tyreek dropped a game-changing one early.
The one where he was fully off the ground, and he threw a bullet off the guy's head.
Horizontal,
yeah. In the head.
Yeah. It's tough when those balls just come out of nowhere. And on both of them, the Tyreek Hill and then the other drop, like the defenders like whiffed it 3 times. It's not like it was just hitting them in the face. Everyone's like, they dropped the ball. It's like those were impossible plays.
Here are my 3 takeaways. Number 1, such a great day for a long time Tampa Bay Buccaneer Tom Brady. Number 2, Mahomes, his foot was definitely really hurt. Like
from the first play,
and it was very clear
around the field.
And number 3, their offensive line was a liability that entire game. They were rushing 3-4 guys, and they had pressure. It was a disaster.
It was patchwork, right? They didn't. Yeah, I mean, all their guys were out.
Unfortunate.
And Sue is a beast. So yeah, I mean, I called it. It is what it is. No big deal. But what I didn't do is buy any Brady cards like a dope.
Didn't make the play, huh?
Lou, you said something interesting the other night, which I think we should talk about, and kind of goes in the face a little bit and speaks to, I would say, the larger market, the energy and momentum happening in the market right now. Is we've talked a lot about buying cycles. It goes to buy the rumor, sell the news. The Mahomes dip after he won the Super Bowl, LeBron dip after they won last year. But Brady wins, and since in the last 2 days, I mean, cards are record highs, and they're seemingly, at least in your perspective, you think that there is not going to be a dip in that. I think we've seen it for Mahomes, but Brady may just be a runaway train at this point. Thoughts, feelings on that?
Yeah.
It's counterintuitive to what we've said in the past.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit different. There's only been a few sales, so it's hard to judge it totally. I actually expected a little bit more of a jump on Brady. But like we were saying, I think typically what happens is the moment happens and then immediately goes down. I think we're still going to see a little bit of sustaining where we are right now, maybe a little bit up before they do inevitably go back down once we get to like May, June, July, or May, June, and then July, August. We'll see what happens. But yeah, I think it's a little bit different this time around because there's a lot more money in the mix now, and a lot more people who are looking to buy things for the first time. I mean, we've talked about the scenario, but I think there was a lot more people who had a lot more money watching the Super Bowl who were like, oh, maybe I'll buy a Brady right now than in previous times.
Rye, what are you seeing? on your side.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with it. It's the market has shifted, right? We're going to bring this up at some point, but the market has shifted from, really the modern guys that are prospects per se and more on these goats. So when Brady goes out and dominates a Super Bowl against the guy that, they're saying passing the torch moment to, and just dominates, it's just, he's got more rings than Jordan. I mean, you're talking about the best quarterback of all time without a debate now. I mean, again, I saw Gary's thing the other day about like Belichick should be worried. I mean, he went to Tampa Bay, beat Rodgers on the road in Lambeau, beat Breeze on the road, and beat Mahomes in the Super Bowl. I mean, as a 5 seed, it just, I mean, you're talking about dude just does whatever he wants. So,
yeah,
it's just it's like, to me, it's like LeBron. It's not everybody can afford those, but I just don't see how would they go down, right? Like if it's market manipulation now, right? I understand that. It seems like a pretty safe bet long term if you can afford them. I mean, Brady's, the GOAT.
yeah.
Go to football, and it's like, all right, I'm looking at MJ 10. Someone's looking at MJ's for 700 or 650, and they're looking at Brady's at 20, and they're like, that doesn't make any sense.
Mm-hmm.
People are doing that,
and
right or wrong.
Just what about his Prism stuff? What about the Buccaneers Prism that just came out? What about some mid-year stuff? Like, I think it's important to clarify that when we talk about it, it's the Bowman Chrome card, and I think same with LeBron. There's obviously a larger Brady market, but what we can see is an overall maybe raise of things, only to then again shrink back with kind of that singular, graded AAA rookie card remaining strong. Like, Ryan, I know you have a lot of people come through your shop and a lot of individuals that listen to this podcast. Maybe they don't have 20 grand to drop on it, but what do you think about maybe the second year or the alternative rookie or
game
his
used
raw cards?
Game used patch cards.
Game used patch cards.
A Brady first year Prism green. I looked up the other day because we had a couple in Dallas, right? On my YouTube video, I talked about I got some like first year Prism greens in a $1 box. One was like Sean Green and one was Eddie Royal or something. I mean, they were not very good. And I'm looking up Prism Green 2012, trying to get an idea of what these sell for. And I see a Tom Brady auction that pops up. It says like similar items that have sold. And it's Tom Brady for $754. I would much rather buy 8 Tom Brady game used patch cards for $100 a piece than spend $750 on a Prism card. Not saying, everybody's different, right? I enjoy collecting a game used patch. Like a Brady game used jersey is going to sell for a lot of money. So to be able to get a piece of that jersey from in a card form, which is what I collect, I would rather have that.
What if you're buying raw 2012 Prism Tom Brady and grading them?
Oh, I mean,
I'm telling you, they're selling for $100, and the 10s are selling for $1,000.
Yeah, but a lot of those are like, I think a lot of those are off-centered.
Yeah, so if you find good ones, you got to grind it. But if you find good ones for $100,
yeah, you find a good one, you send it in, you got to get a 10. There's a lot that goes into it, a lot of risk. I'd rather buy, again, just you're asking me personally, what would I buy? I would buy a game used Tom Brady patch card.
Where do we think Mahomes stuff goes from here?
Do I think it should drop a ton? No, not really. He did about all he could in that game. I mean, you can only hit a guy in the head so many times with the football.
Yeah, I don't really know.
Kelsey had a couple where he just put his hands on his head. Like,
it looked like there were just too many jitters.
Yeah, it was unfortunate. It was a series of unfortunate events. I would tell anyone who's panic selling Patrick, you like that one? Anyone who's that was nice. Right? That was nice. Anyone who's panic selling Patrick Mahomes right now for the sake of panic selling Patrick Mahomes is making a mistake.
Unless they, picked one up in July for $3,700.
just for the sake of getting rid of it, because the season's over now, is bad. If there's something else you're trying to do, makes all the sense in the world, especially with liquid stuff. But
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that's I'm going to be honest here. I don't think that's entirely fair to say. We preach on this show that nobody's ever gone broke making a profit. So, like Tyler said, if you're getting $9,000 cash on a card you have $3,600 for, it's not the worst thing in the world. If
I wouldn't consider that a panic sell, though.
The PSA 10 Prism Silvers, the base Mahomes 10 was $13,500 to $14K at the day of the Super Bowl. If you're getting 9 now, that's a massive drop in a week. So I think that, or in 4 days, I think that is a panic sell. The fact that they're dropping that quick. I mean, again, if a stock fell 35% in 3 days, there would be panic. So
this is the business we're in, though.
Yeah.
Here's Mahomes. If you're listening, we're showing a visual here of Card Ladder, which I believe is all off of eBay data. And if you see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, there was 8 sales, 7 of them being auctioned that ended on Sunday. Sunday was the 7th. And anything from the high of auction of 15K 100, 15, there was a 15.3 and then a low of 11.7. So if you kind of average that out, and I don't know, they haven't pulled in yesterday's data yet, but it looks like
13
around mid 12, 13 is kind of that average price. And all things considered, it's not the furthest of a drop from what looks like, some of the highs. That is kind of at the high.
It's still way higher than it was mid-season. I mean, I sold one this season for $7,700.
Mm-hmm.
So it's certainly way up. I think the big thing on this card specifically, is this is a really hard card to 10. These cards were known for surface defects. They had that little mark next to his shoulder. Like some of them aren't centered well. This is a hard card to 10. I think it's a pop. I think that said pop 850, 853. This is a card. This is Mahomes, Bowman Chrome for Brady. This is the best rookie card for him long term. It's super rare. I think if you can afford one, Mahomes is going to be the favorite to come out of the AFC.
They're the favorites to win the Super Bowl next year.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to be the favorites for the next 3 years, 4 years.
Yeah, let's not get confused about Patrick Mahomes.
So I have some nice Mahomes stuff. I have no interest in selling at all. I mean, yeah. I understand you wanting to cash out because his stuff is so hot. It's only so hot because he's so good.
So we now, have the classic 2 day after recording on Tuesday, not Monday, 2 days after the Super Bowl, football season's over, summer's coming. You got hoops. You got everyone's favorite, sport, baseball. And then we have the great sport of proper football that's going to take the world by storm over the next 24 months.
It's funny how those two things get talked about by the person talking about them.
What I'd like to discuss is going the other way a bit, and what are some, as we think about next football season, what are some sneaky plays? Who you keeping an eye on? Where's your head at? Where's your thoughts? Obviously, in Dallas, Deshaun. There's a lot of Deshaun chatter. If there's a trade, could be big for his career and obviously his card. Stafford in a new landing spot. Goff in a new landing spot. Who the hell knows what's happening with Darnold? So yeah, would love your thoughts on that. The position players start to explode. What are we talking about here?
Go for it, Ryan.
A couple on my mind. If this is only a monetary thing, the first thing has to be who's getting traded, right? Watson and Wentz are the first two that come to mind because people will be interested in them when they end up on a new team. Assuming Watson gets traded, Watson's a good quarterback regardless, and Wentz is too. So I think that's the first one that comes to mind because Wentz stuff especially is low compared to where it's been. So if he ends up in Indy, right? Like Indy is built to win now with a good quarterback. He ends up in Chicago. They're built to win now with a good quarterback. The defense is great. So Stafford's stuff took a bump when, he got traded. So yeah,
Jason was running around Dallas looking for Stafford cards today, and then he got traded that night.
Yeah. So I think the guys like that are an intriguing play. I think the one thing I'm going to look at is I don't know if people are aware of what's coming, but 4 months from now, we'll be in the heart of Trevor Lawrence 2021 rookie cards. Like that stuff's coming. And even if it's college, contenders draft picks, Prism draft picks, the new shiny object of Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields, Zach Wilson after the draft, going into the preseason, like those guys are going to get all of the attention. And I think you're going to see some opportunities come up because people are going to be focused on those guys. Like you're going to be searching for anything Trevor Lawrence. And I think that's going to mean Burrow's going to be forgotten about. He's coming off an injury. He's already low. I've said this before, and I've been very honest. I think Burrow's going to be an interesting guy to watch. What happens to Herbert? He looked amazing. Won Rookie of the Year, right? Like, is Tua going to get traded in a Deshaun deal? Does that intrigue his stuff? What about Hurts when Wentz is gone? Like, I think there's some opportunities there, especially for some of the recent guys we've mentioned before. Is Kyler a buy? Kyler stuff is incredibly low compared to even Joe Burrow, right? Like, I think there's plays in some of those in here in a couple weeks when the new shiny objects come around. I think in the short term, my first thought in terms of a flip game type thing is some of the guys that are going to get traded.
So now that Ryan named every single quarterback in the NFL, I'll open.
There's one that he didn't, that he has in the past.
I would open with, I don't think today is the right day to make those plays. I think March, April, May is the time to make those plays. Probably more March, April, more than May.
Couldn't agree.
So I would say first guy on my mind is Deshaun. If Deshaun ever gets a point where he's touching under 1,000, the prism gets very, very interesting to me. Kyler is the second guy that comes to mind. I think he was so scorching hot a year ago, and he's due for a nice little comeback here. Will he get back to his preseason this year numbers, 1,000 each? I don't know, but it's something interesting to watch. And then the third one I would say is Justin Herbert. I think what will happen, if I had to guess what's going to happen here, if like the draft comes around, right? Lawrence, Wilson, all those guys get hot. People are going to say, wait, what about the rookie of the year who just had an unbelievable year with one of the worst coaching staffs in football? And then that stuff will go I think it has a very interesting opportunity there. I say that as a person who owns a very nice Herbert that I'm pumped about, but in general, I believe in him as well.
Yeah, look at last year. We talked about this. This is cyclical, right? Up to the season last year, Haskins sold, Minshew sold, Locke sold, Daniel Jones sold, Kyler sold. Everybody goes into the offseason thinking their team made the right moves to win the Super Bowl. Only one dude's going to win. So those guys are going to get hyped up, and there's going to be a lot of attention on a lot of young quarterbacks going into the next.
And for 90% of the quarterbacks, even if they win, they have 6 more to go to even touch the active. Brady's not even over the hill.
I think one guy we didn't mention this discussion.
Hold on, because I know you're going to say it, and I want to say
relax, Ryan. Let other people talk.
Jalen Hurts is interesting.
No.
That's not what I was going to say. He's thrown to former wide receivers. That doesn't.
No.
Ryan, Jalen Hurts was your guy. He was your guy.
He was a buying opportunity. Absolutely. I'm talking buy low, sell high. I'm just not betting on Philly he's throwing the ball to Greg Ward.
Doesn't he got Alshon Jeffrey who took the last 2 years off because he doesn't like Wentz?
So are you just assuming he's magically going to come back now? I mean, that's like betting on AJ Green.
I'm just saying I smell opportunity when you mentioned 30 quarterbacks and didn't mention a potential Philadelphia Eagles starter.
You missed that point of the conversation. Absolutely hurts what's mentioned.
You brought up. You weren't listening. Open your ears.
Absolutely. When Wentz gets traded, what hurts stuff is going to take a bump. Absolutely.
So why are you saying no?
That wasn't the guy I said no because that wasn't the guy I was going to mention.
Got you. All right. Fair. Yeah, all is fair.
I was pricing some cards like Mosaic Hurts rookies do $10. Herbert's $40. If he goes into the season and you're like, this guy's going to start, if they trade Wentz, you're counting on Hurts to be the guy. If they get a weapon in the draft app, I think there's potential.
I just think Philly people are passionate about their football, and it's been a brutal 2-3 years. paying Wentz and getting the results that you've gotten in a world where he didn't even win the Super Bowl for you guys, and there's real passion in that fan base for Hurts to come on and play well. And I think that if he does, that there will be chatter. The media will love it. They will love him. And I just think that there could be opportunity there.
He's super likable too.
Yeah, first, we can't discredit. If Carson Wentz doesn't get hurt, he wins MVP. So didn't win the Super Bowl. Absolutely, everything happens for a reason. Nick Foles beat the Patriots. I get that. The one guy we didn't mention is Mahomes. If Mahomes stuff dips, is how low is it going to go?
It's the most buy it could possibly be. There's no one better than Patrick Mahomes. I don't care.
If you're looking for something to save for more than the next 6 months, it's got to be the top of the list in terms of guys that aren't going to retire in the next, 6 months.
Yeah, and if you're playing it to your point, like we go back and forth between these like flipping conversations to collecting to buy something, don't worry about it for 2 years type investing, and in the overall environment, Robinhood, Reddit, Bitcoin, whatever, there's so much of like, give me my money right now because there's explosion happening everywhere. But yeah, Mahomes outside of Brady, I mean Rodgers, Russell Wilson, didn't mention either of those guys either. If you're betting on graded cards as a long-term investment, yeah, Patrick Mahomes is a beautiful asset to own.
Yeah, I think I'm curious to see how far those dips are or how big those dips are. And if they dip low enough, it seems like a play, right? It's, he lost the Super Bowl. He didn't retire. So I think,
was that his fourth year?
Third year starting. First year he won MVP. And if D4 doesn't jump off sides, he goes to the Super Bowl.
Three straight times he's been in the Super Bowl.
Second year he wins the Super Bowl and Super Bowl MVP. Lamar gets MVP in the league. Third year he gets second MVP voting, I think, to Rodgers. Goes to Super Bowl, loses to Brady. 3 years starting,
with
2 MVPs.
He's out of control.
Starting linemen.
Yep. So I wanted to bring up, though, Lou and I talked about it offline. It's funny how popular cards have gotten when things like this happen. We start looking online for cards. Lou and I mentioned my wife wanted to watch the Britney Spears documentary last night, and there was a bunch of people on Twitter about it. I saw Barstool tweeted about it. It was crazy. Very interesting. I remember Britney Spears being big when I was in like middle school, and she's watching the documentary and I'm sitting there with her and I'm like, does Britney Spears have any rookie cards? And Lou and I were talking about it, and I'm like Britney Spears, and Lou's like, yeah, dude, I was looking. She's got this, like, he mentions Jive Records, like 1998.
There's a Jive Records and there's an SI for Kids. SI for Kids is historically a sneaky play for cards.
SI for Kids is a real.
See, Ryan.
Tiger's got one. LeBron's got one. I know there's a Tony Hawk one.
Yeah, SI for Kids was such a banger magazine.
Yeah, it
in
was.
Like middle school, elementary school library, like doing.
And it was in the Scholastic Book magazine. Remember, you could order it. Fire.
Straight guy.
I just think it's funny how like things like this happen, and we're just like, ooh, is there a card?
Yeah.
Right. So.
And it speaks to the, I think, acceptance of it as an asset class. We can get super heady, go into another Top Shot thing of like, what is the real, money, and how does money transfer and value and decentralization, and if what is inherently the difference? Obviously sports, but it comes down to storytelling. What's the difference between Luke Skywalker card and a Britney Spears card? Other than
absolutely nothing.
Yeah, you can say, well, Luke Skywalker is not living, Britney is, but like it just comes down to storytelling and supply and demand of the asset.
Yep. So
did you guys make a Britney Spears play real quick before we get into it?
I did not. I don't know about.
You can get them. I mean, they're like, you can get a couple for $8 to $10. I don't know how good they are. Again, the Sports Illustrated for Kids one was like $8 or something.
Mm-hmm.
There's a couple like vending, like here's a Britney Spears sticker vending machine card for $11. Yeah, it's just an interesting thing. Like you said, Todd, supply and demand is going to be the big thing, right? I'm not saying go buy Britney Spears. It doesn't do much for me or for most people. But for someone that doesn't have very many cards, I just that if some, history will look back on, people differently. Like that's one of the reasons I'm big on the Rock rookie. I know Lou and I had that conversation, and it's if there's just nothing available and you want something of them, I just supply and demand's gonna matter.
Yeah.
It will play out.
For sure. And I think it's important, as you bring up the Rock thing, for us to take 2 seconds and just acknowledge. I think this is probably this is like maybe our 30th, 31st something episode, maybe more. So we've been doing this over 6 months more. And the Rock posting his card in feed is like a pretty big moment for the hobby. And again, Ryan, you've been in this for exponentially longer. You are the guy, in my opinion. I'm just trying to learn from you. It's got to be pretty cool for someone like yourself that has an immense amount of not only passion, but has been working in the hobby for such a long time, to kind of start to see this larger acceptance. And not only acceptance, but it's gone from either like pocket hobby over here that not many people care or talk about, to like mainstream conversation.
Yeah, that is, for sure. I posted on our Facebook page the other day, and I posted it in my story. Like, we got asked to be a part of an article in the local newspaper about sports cards. I've had a couple kids reach out that I went to high school with that were like, hey, saw you did this. It's super cool to see. It's like, growing up, I didn't talk about it. Like, it wasn't something you just told friends, hey, man, I'm collecting trading cards. Like, weird. That's stupid. Now it's like, hey, yeah, I own a sport. It's just, a little bit more confidence when you talk about it, right? And I was a lot shyer when I was younger, but it's good to see it getting so much attention. I mean, like they talked about, you guys saw the tweet. I know Jason reposted it about Mahomes and the teammates were bringing Pokemon packs to the Super Bowl. Like, the future of the NFL is ripping Pokemon packs and talking about it. And then The Rock, who's the third most followed account on Instagram, is talking about his rookie card or his PSA 10 card. It's just, it's good to see it getting so much attention. I can't ever be a bad thing to have more eyes on the hobby. Help create sustainability.
Yeah, and I think that just amongst everything, I wanted to bring it up because sometimes, and personally, like our conversations can delve into money and this play and that play and flipping and buy this because there's an opportunity to sell this. And I just want to use that point to hammer home, like, again, in Dallas, there's just so much fun to it. And a lot of people, whether consciously or subconsciously, most, I'd say, it's not about the money. It's about it being a hobby and it being fun and a sustainable hobby. Any hobby, if you're a gardener, you can make a living off of that if you know how to operate it business-wise. And it's just cool. It's been fun, kind of 2.5-3 year stretch for me of meeting people, getting into it. And I can only imagine what you're dealing with from a random people reaching out being like, yo, tell me about that card thing, when they didn't want to listen to you 7 years ago, because I get it. And I'm like, I'm just trying to figure it out like the rest of them. You know what I mean? So it was a pretty cool moment. And I think there's a lot of good ahead because of it. Yeah.
I couldn't agree more. So we mentioned it earlier with when we were talking about Brady and his prices and sustainability long term, but seems to have been a market shift, right? We saw it in Dallas. I know Lou and I had a conversation one-off about it. Like, a lot less focus on Tyler Hero, Ja Morant, and maybe Zion, and a lot more focus on LeBron James, Michael Jordan, and Kobe Bryant. And I just wanted to kind of talk through that with you guys, get your kind of what you've seen lately, your input on it, and just have that discussion about what the state of the market currently is.
I think it's the inevitable shift that I think was always going to happen. Is it inevitable shift? Probably isn't the right phrase. I think it might be a moment in time where everyone's saying to themselves, all right, there's all this money coming in, right? people who have a lot of money aren't going to spend their money on Luka. They're going to be like, oh, wait, I can get the greatest player of all time, arguably first or second or third, depending on who you ask, player of all time. And his base rookie card is only $30,000 at the time. They're like, oh, cool, I'm going to grab that. And if all the energy and attention's on that, people then try to go make that play, right? I feel like that's probably a lot of the energy right now. And that leads to an unlimited supply of these Lukas and these Donovan Mitchells and these Tyler Heroes and these Zions all available. And the prices go down. It's just how it goes. I think the healthiness, I think the liquidity of the modern market is good for cards in general. And I think the price drops are good for cards in general because someone's going to make a play on something here that is going to make them a little bit of money, and that's how the prices go back up. Will the Mavericks get better the rest of the season? Will the Jazz continue to succeed? All of those things will affect the price of those cards, but in the moment, it feels like everyone's just trying to dump their modern cards to get into a LeBron, get into an MJ, get into a Kobe, get into a KD even. I think KD's the next level down of those who's currently playing.
Curry.
Yeah. Curry.
Yeah.
It just feels like people are trying to get into that right now, and that's where a lot of the energy is at this exact moment.
It seems like the same thing happened in July, but with the rookies. Like, you had this mass influx of people, and you're just like, let me just get something. I just got to get something. I got to own something. Let me just go buy it. And you create this craze where just people are just flocking to buy it. And then people are like, that Michael Jordan guy's not playing again, and he's pretty good, and his prices are comparable to this Luka card. I'm going to go buy this one. And I think it's just kind of the market correcting itself. But, Lou, you bring up an interesting point. Like, does this create a buying opportunity? Right?
Luka's down below 1,200 now in spots.
But we saw that in Dallas, right?
But now it's happening on eBay.
Yep. So it takes a little bit. Took a little bit of time to correct it. But yeah, I think that's an interesting thing. Is not everybody's down. I just sold a DeAndre Hunter Court Kings level 3 rookie for $55. That's.
I think
that's a good amount of money for DeAndre Hunter.
What needs to be really quantified and taken into account, which is hard, and I don't even know if I really understand it, but is the sheer expansion of demand for all things cards. And if you want to call it specifically graded cards. And so first I start with the sheer amount. We have this podcast, again, grateful to be partnered with eBay in that, they help bring further awareness to us and what we're talking about. But even in the last month or two, I mean, Kevin Durant has stood up a real media business with his partner, Rich Kleiman, who's a beast, and they are aggressively covering sports cards. Bill Simmons, the guy in sports media for dudes, sports card podcast. I mean, it's happening everywhere, and we've got to take into account that each time this happens and new people come in, there's not necessarily new rules being set, but like, look what's happening to Marvel. Everyone wants to kind of either come in and everyone has fresh takes and perspectives. And 18 months ago, Prism basketball, the price points were different. So now, to your point, when you look at a new box of Prism basketball for $3,000 something and a single for this, well, you're telling me that dude is more valuable than C3PO? Like, and so I think that what we're seeing is just this massive new wave of collectors, investors approaches to it all. And what people are thinking is, why is modern stuff not going in the same rate? I mean, we've seen Luka go up and go down. We've seen Luka come down to $1,000. What also in terms of sports, like, this is the lull of basketball right now. Middle of the season, Luka might not even make the playoffs. His stuff should be down. All other factors aside, even if he's the guy, it's not probably up, and I could be super wrong, but isn't Donovan Mitchell the starting point guard in the best team in the league right now? So, like, when we think about this and Luke Skywalker and Hermione cards and all this, and like, if the Jazz are the number 1 seed going into the playoffs, Donovan Mitchell is going to be a good buy right now, if you're thinking about it from an investing standpoint. So it makes sense to me that it's not moving up and or staying stagnant. One, because there's a lot of new people, there's a lot of new stories, there's a lot of new media, there's a lot of new demand coming in, and everyone wants to be smart or on the cutting edge or on the front. And Prism basketball is not that right now.
I think that real quick, what you just said, everyone wants to be the smartest person in the room, is a very important lesson for when you first get into cards.
Yep, no kidding.
Everyone thinks they're the smartest person in the room when they come in the door, myself included.
Yeah. And we all have our takes, right? But like there's now, even since we started 30 episodes ago, people had to discover us. We're a newer platform. These Barstool in the game, massive loyal following. Bill Simmons in the game, massive loyal following. Durant in the game, massive loyal following. They all need to have perspectives and takes. And how do people get influenced to buy things? No different than you watch a commercial on the TV and you buy Chex Mix or Doritos. It's like, so I think we're seeing a little bit of that.
I think you kind of hit on, and that's where I was going is I think you've got to be cautious to really, really dump something just to get out of it. Because again, you're creating this craze around the Jordan LeBron stuff, especially that early stuff. Cards weren't popular then. The supply on some of that stuff is not comparable to modern stuff. And I think what you're going to see is that stuff is going to continue to rise, right? Like LeBron only has so many Topps PSA 10s. It's a fraction of these modern cards. But what you said, Ty, about like the attention with Simmons and stuff like that is like Barstool isn't really in the game. They've got Coach Doug's, like they're starting to get there, but like Barstool is not going to not be in cards. They're too good at attention. They're going to get on board, right? Like you said, KD and Rich Kleiman, they're getting on board. Like there's a lot of attention that's still going to come into cards, right? Those people are going to want cards. Those people are going to tell their friends. Like they're going to have wants and needs. So I would just be cautious about just like dumping everything because the market shifted. Because this isn't we're past the point of like, hey, this is a fad. This is going to, have its moment during COVID. Like the market is going to continue to rise.
Something someone said to me in Dallas, his name was Eric, spoke to him for like an hour at the show. He said, stay ahead of the waves. And what he meant by that was, of course, Jordan 9s and 10s are going to go crazy right now. 8s, 9s, and 10s are going to go crazy right now. Of course, LeBron's going to follow that. Of course, Kobe's going to follow that. But if you're just trying to catch the waves every single time, you might get caught. And trying to stay ahead of the wave and thinking to yourself, all right, what's the next version of this? And that's hard. And it comes with time and you have to have a good feel for the market and all that stuff. But like trying to stay ahead of it is the key to making sure you don't make too many bad calls. You might guess wrong, but you have a good opportunity to stay ahead of wave, to be on the front end of when you want to make a move on something when the run starts, if you could try to stay ahead of it.
That's why we don't buy Clyde Edwards-Helaire Donruss rookies for $43.
That is 100% correct.
That's where you teach patience.
By the way, you know what was pretty damn cool? Edwards-Helaire was the starting running back for LSU last year in the chip game. As I'm watching that game, I'm like, that's a pretty cool life and pretty accomplished, athletic career. At 22. Guys, is starting back in a 12-month span, 13-month span in the Natty Chip game for a powerhouse, arguably the best college team ever, and then goes and lines up in an I form behind Patty Mahomes or right next to him in the Super Bowl. I mean, hats off to that dude. Even though
people are selling optic hollow, bro. Ryan, let me get your thoughts on this. I don't think you've seen this yet. Clyde Edwards-Helaire hollow Donruss hollow optics sold for $43 raw today.
That's early, right? This is we'll get to it later on, latest launch. But that's the big thing is like there's not a lot of it out, right? Retail's hit here or there. Hobby comes out this week. Retail hit the shelves fully this week. Supply and demand, right? It's going to play out. There's 5 now available. There'll be 500, a month from now. So patience.
Tough buy.
All right, so we've hinted at this before. We've talked about it on social media. This is going to be a segment we're going to start doing now. We got rid of Stump the Shop. Tyler and Lou couldn't really handle that. We've moved on, and we're going to do a new segment around listeners submitting their play of the week. So this is going to be you guys showing us what your move is, like a sale you made, a buy you made, maybe a trade you made, whatever it may be. We're looking for listeners to submit those to us. Again, you guys can find us on Instagram or Twitter at Card Talk Pod. But this is a segment we're going to try to run weekly or every other week and get feedback from you guys, and we're going to share them. The big thing about this is Lou, Tyler, and I will not know any of these. Jason, one of the producers behind the scenes here, is going to give us some of them, and we're going to talk about them live. Again, not seeing any of this until it's real time, and we'll talk through them together. Play of the week.
I would also say, sorry, finish.
Play of the week is brought to you by eBay, your number one spot for cards and collectibles.
Thoughts on looking at prices of these things in real time? Because I want to say, like, we're going to see something and someone's going to say a number, and it's hard to put the number in context unless we are looking at it.
I'm not against it. I think the big thing is overall, do you is this something you would
Is the thing cool?
Yes. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah. So we're going to see 5 different plays, I believe. We're going to then talk about the play in a vacuum. And I think to your point, price-wise, maybe we shouldn't go into that, and we'll find this as we go. But this is amazing first one, and we'll talk through it from a visual perspective for those that are listening. And then we're going to give a play of the week call after we go through all 5.
I think it would be important for listeners, and then also for Jason to mention this. Is this a buy or is this a sell?
Mm-hmm.
Did you buy it for this or did you sell it for this?
Yeah.
These are all buys. These are all buys. These are all
cool.
And we're showing the purchase prices?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. So we've got our first one here on the screen. That's a nice little make a play logo that you threw together there, Jason. And this is from Jordan Lorenz at Jordan _ it looks like L2. It's a lowercase L, so it's sneaky. Jordan _ L2 on Instagram. And he picked up a 1998 Upper Deck Choice Peyton Manning Prime Choice Reserve. Ryan, you've been all the rage about our boy Peyton. He just entered the hall. Thoughts, boys?
So a couple things stand out about this. Serial numbered, again, lets you know the rarity of it. It's not, there's not a million copies of something.
Number 14 out of 100.
Yep, 14 out of 100. Not college jersey number, not pro jersey number. Nothing special there. PSA 10, pop 6, so low pop. I like Manning. I'm optimistic about Manning. Likely not going to be my favorite buy of the week. I think at 4,500, I'm probably looking at a low grade Topps Chrome refractor for the same type of money. I think that one is going to have more popularity long run. Like if you bought a Brady numbered out of 100 from his rookie year, like for instance, private stock. I know someone that has a PSA 9 of those. It's numbered in 95. It's like a low pop, and it sold for like 8,500. Right? It was like a $2,000 card 3 months ago. And in my head, while it's serial numbered and then that matters, people are going to want the chrome or the refractor more long term. So if you're betting on Manning and his stuff long term, I think the way I look at it is I'll look at the staple card, find that, because I think that's going to be the one people turn their eyes to. Not, like I said, good buy. I like Manning. With the same amount of money, I'm not sure it would have been my first buy.
Yeah, my initial reaction was to go on PSA and look at like this set and see what else was available. And let me tell you why. I think buying Peyton Manning is cool. This exact thing, my initial thought is like, first of all, there's 2 Peyton Mannings in the set. There's a 256, which is what this card is, and then there's a 193. There's a prime choice reserve, a choice reserve, and the base for both of those cards. So there's 6 different versions of Peyton Manning in this set. So my initial reaction is this is confusing to me, and I would rather buy a Topps Chrome. Topps Chrome is his regular rookie, right?
He's got Topps Chrome and Bowman Chrome. Topps Chrome will win out.
Yeah, I would lean Topps Chrome if I'm going to buy a Peyton going forward.
Yeah, this is like buying like a 10-year CD to me, and I think Peyton is going to stay strong. I think it's the most exciting play. Nah. Do I think it might have been a better play 2 months ago? Yeah. Keep it moving. Bring up the next.
1999 Pokemon 2,348 Topps trading card box set, factory sealed mint.
So this is the Topps Pokemon. That's the Topps TV Pokemon set, I believe. Jason can confirm, but I'm fairly certain it is. We have talked about this on the show before. I am the owner of a a Charmander foil. So in this set, there's base cards, there's foils, and there's different levels of foil basically. So I'm a big fan of this set. There's something to the Pokemon anime and how that plays itself out in the US market. I haven't fully thought it out yet. I'm a fan of buying sealed Pokemon, especially vintage sealed Pokemon.
So the one thing I don't know, so I'm not sure I'm the right answer for this.
Yep.
I've never been one to typically buy a set. I would prefer packs, right? I would prefer a pack to rip the unknown. Like it could be a Charizard, it could be, Charmander. A set and typically what's inside. So I like the old school Pokemon aspect of it. I think that supply and demand factor will really kick in there because you're just not going to see a ton of it sealed for sure. But Ty, I'm open to your thoughts on this.
Yeah, I like to play. Honestly, I think getting your hand right now with how content is being made, live streaming, Twitch, what's happening in gaming, what the new rules, I'm baffled at what I believe is underpriced first edition PSA 10 Pokemon stuff, but the market is the market, and there is a mass amount of demand around sealed product to be able to open for content, and so I think it's a great play.
Yeah, interesting.
Either for your own entertainment to rip it open. I think it makes for a fun, Friday night with the boys or the gals, or as a flip, because I think that there's a lot of content creators out there that it's well worth their money to pay 20% VIG on that to make content.
I think that's an underlooked part of this, right? Is as the card market gets this extra attention, look at some of the people on YouTube that are big into cards and the attention they get on opening a random hobby box. Again, I just know the sports card aspect of it. I know who it is and I know the attention it brings. It's crazy to think what something like Logan Paul is going to have a lot of attention opening a first edition hobby box or a first edition Pokemon box. So yeah,
and then he monetizes that attention in a different way, and so then that cost for him is worthwhile. And so this was from @praise PRAYZ on Instagram @praise, and it was a 1999 Pokemon Topps trading cards box set, factory sealed, mint. On to the next one, Jay.
All right, boy. 2003 Net Pro Serena Williams, #1 rookie. It says the best women's tennis player ever. So definitely selling it on this one. $14.99 free shipping. Is this
is this the main Serena?
Who's it from? Is this JPET? So JPETT or TEE85 on Instagram.
Letter J, Pete E85. Lot of tennis chatter right now. A lot of tennis chatter happening. $15. I can't really tell based on the imagery if that, the quality of it, where that comes back from a graded perspective. In a weird way, it almost looks like it's trimmed a touch, but that's just me and having bad eyes. I'm long Serena. I'm a fan of the play.
I'm extremely confused here because let's put this in perspective. Like you're saying, we don't know the quality of this card. If PSA 10s are doing north of $1,500 each, and that might be low. I'm just looking at a current auction that's live on this exact card. $1,900 was the last sale. $15?
It's a serious play.
Might be a serious play here. Right?
Yeah.
Brian?
You'd have to grade it pretty quickly, right? If you think this is a moment thing,
I don't think it is.
On the moment, grade it pretty quick. But if you think it's a long-term play, if it's a $1,900 card forever in your mind, yeah, I mean, $15. You can't go wrong.
If
there was also a time where we used to.
Go ahead.
I was going to say there was a time where we used to get crazy excited when, the backup shooting guard on the Sacramento Kings would talk about cards. Serena Williams' husband is active in the space.
Do you see the video of her? She has a rookie in her trophy room.
Yeah, is this?
She has
In
that
a
card
bet-
in the trophy room.
Mhm.
How about that, Ryan? Bet you didn't know that.
No, I didn't.
No,
But I wasn't like against Serena Williams.
No, he wasn't.
weren't.
He was for the play.
Yeah.
I mean, you made a mistake. I don't know. Next.
All right. This is Marvel Comics Superheroes trading card number 43, Spider-Man Donruss 1966 MCG.
Yeah. So as a person that's Marvel comic, something. So as someone who was priced out of buying the 1990 Marvel set, I then made the movement to looking into other sets. I ended up personally buying some of the Prism stickers that came out of vending machines from Marvel. But this 1966 set is very, very interesting. Something I've gone back and forth with in my mind is do these like, I keep calling them sketch cards. I don't know if that's the right word, but like the ones that are like basically cutouts from a comic and put onto a piece of cardboard for cards. Are those as interesting as character cards? Is something I keep going back and forth on. So I'm a fan of these because they're so old school, and if you can get them in good shape, they sell pretty well. And I think there's definitely a lot of room on them. But in the long run, I'm not too sure how a sketch card plays out over a character card.
Yeah. Marvel feels hot for me right now. Feels white hot. Feels ripping and running. I'm not on the buy side of Marvel right now. Just because it feels, for me personally, I've never been a big comic guy. I've never been a big Marvel guy. I haven't watched the Avengers movies. Just not my forte. I think Spider-Man's super cool, but I'm not like a MCU guy. I don't know if that card guy one is, and this is at that card guy one on Twitter. So I'm indifferent. Feels like it's white hot. This card maybe might get like a PSA 6 based on that left to right centering. Top right corner looks a little bit banged up. Top to bottom centering is off. I think if you're into comics, it's a good play. It's not my kind of play.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not the Marvel expert here at all. It doesn't, lose the Marvel guy here.
I love how I've been tagged as the Marvel guy.
I'm intrigued by the idea that the 1990 Marvel is on fire. It's no different. That same concept exists in sports cards, right? When the LeBron Topps Chrome 10 gets so high, people look for the next best thing. Like Lou mentioned, like, do these other cards get attention once the 1990 Marvel stuff is priced out? Possibly. Again, I don't know much about it, so doesn't do a ton for me, but I like the concept of thinking outside of the typical 1990 Marvel box. All right.
Oh, man.
2018 Topps Archives, Wendy Peppercorn, The Sandlot, PSA 10. This is from at MHK_cards on Instagram.
I'll let you guys go first.
I think it's a great collector's piece. I think if you're buying this, it's whether it's the man cave or your bedroom or a desk tchotchke. I think this is for MH_K_cards. Sandlot might have been a big movie for him. Might have, been on a first date with his now wife, at that movie. Might have meant really something. He might have been a ball player back in the day. Might have loved the great Bambino, been in it for the story. Maybe he has good memories. Maybe he has great memories of the community pool back in the summer of '77. But it's a collector's piece. And that's about as far as it goes for me. I like the play for that reasoning. I've got some random weird collector's pieces of my own. But this is not the play of the week, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think to me, is this a pop 2? Right? Is it a pop 3 or is it a pop 50? Right? If somebody one day is like, ooh, I watched The Sandlot with my kid. I'm going to go buy a Wendy Peppercorn rookie. I want one at a PSA 10. Money's not an issue. I'm going to go buy one. Ooh, there's only 2 of them out there. It's, and you can flip it later if that's your strategy, maybe. But yeah, like Tyler said, it's just, if there's hundreds of them, you're looking at somebody really, it's just a collector's piece. It's just something you throw up on the mantle and or in your man cave and look at. Doesn't do a ton for me in terms of like it's probably not something that's going to appreciate much in the next 45 days.
I agree. I will say I grew up loving The Sandlot, so this specifically has a very near and dear to my heart. My dog is a English Mastiff, much like the dog in The Sandlot, so I have a very close relationship with this movie. That said, I would imagine that there are approximately 1 gazillion 2018 Topps archives were floating around. So as an investment piece, I don't love it. I love it as a play for someone who loves The Sandlot.
I'm more of an ET guy. If it was ET, I'm more,
Really? You just don't like baseball?
I loved baseball actually growing up.
And you didn't love The Sandlot?
I was indifferent about The Sandlot.
Okay.
I was indifferent about it.
That's fine.
Like, I think the dog is cool. I think going over the fence to get
I
the
just
ball
don't
is cool.
think you liked baseball and didn't like The Sandlot.
It's
I
like
don't
an
have
all-time movie.
negativity towards The Sandlot.
But you have more positivity for E.T.?
Way bigger movie.
Okay.
E.T.'s a bigger movie than Sandlot.
No, I'm aligned. I'm just saying, personally, for me, I like The Sandlot more than I like E.T.
Fair.
It's just
hold on. Jason, bring it back. Now we have the big moment. Play of the week.
There's an easy answer for this one.
Yeah, I think we're all spot on.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Serena.
Yeah. Ryan, you go.
Serena.
Can we start from the beginning, Jay? I need to get focused here.
Let's vote as we go. I think we're all going to agree.
Yeah.
I'm going to go no on Peyton.
Yeah, it's the Peyton. No.
Nope.
I like to play, but no. This is sneaky. This is a very sneaky play.
Agreed.
It's close.
Yep.
I would call it the second best play of the week.
Yep, I agree.
Yeah.
This is the winner.
Serena's a play. If
It's not
JP85 listened to our recording last week and doesn't, 20 day this and get it back in 2023, if he goes 5 day.
Yeah, JP needs to express this $75, pay it, get it back in a few weeks.
And and then, all things considered, the image could be a bit better to give us a little bit more room. But it looks like that JP is going to take down play of the week.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep. Our inaugural play of the week.
Yeah, inaugural play of the week. Let's call it what it is. So shout out to JP 85 for the inaugural play of the week.
He's getting either a t-shirt or a sticker or a hoodie or something that we're working on making.
Just positive vibes.
Stuff Lou and I don't have.
Yeah.
Interesting. Here we go again.
All right. So play of the week is brought to you by eBay, your number one spot for cards and collectibles. All right. Last little segment this week, as always. Brain fart. This week's releases: Optic Football and Series 1 Baseball for 2021. Some big releases. Let's just call it what it is, right? There's a lot of demand around Top Series 1 Baseball. I got a lot of calls last week and a lot of people asked in shop about it. Super, super intrigued by that. And Optic,
you hear that, Tyler? A lot of baseball interest.
Yeah.
And then Optic Football, one of the more let's call it what it is, one of the more collected and desirable football products, up there with Select, Prism, Mosaic. It's in that bunch. So definitely a big release. Jason mentioned that Upper Deck Marvel has a product coming out this week. This is going to be a pretty big release week. What are you looking forward to?
I'm fired up about Topps 21 Series Baseball. There's a lot of interesting guys. Joe Adell is my favorite prospect, potentially in the last few years. So I'm excited about him getting his card. I'm a little bit confused. This means nothing to you guys, but I'm a little bit confused by Joey Bart being in this set. That feels like something they were just trying to get another big name in there. Unless I'm missing something, I don't think Joey Bart is going to make an impact this year. I might be missing something on that. But yeah, so there's him. Bobby Dalbec from the Red Sox, really interesting. Bobby Dalbec, Joe Adell, Edward Olivares is another guy that I've liked. And apparently you were saying Jaron Duran might be in this, Ryan?
Do not quote me on that. I was looking on Twitter.
I don't see him on the sales list, but he might be.
He's
I'm a
not?
big fan of Jaron Duran. Huge fan of Jaron Duran.
Marvel got pushed back, so Marvel is not this week. So this week you have Top Series 1 Baseball, Hobby and Jumbo. You have Optic Football Hybrid, and you have Leaf in the Game Used Hockey. So you got those 4 releases. The big 2 are going to be, a staple product for Topps with the Series 1, and then one of the best, top 5 or 10 football products with Optic. So
I think baseball has a massive opportunity. Theo Epstein's on he's now on like the board leading like on-field competitive stuff. And I think if baseball goes to 7 innings, speeds up the game, I think and understands how to market its players, I think it has a real chance to explode because in a post-pandemic world, going to the ballpark sounds epic in a way that is different than any other sport other than maybe football, based on, that getting outside, reconnecting with friends and family, a little popcorn, a little Cracker Jack. But in the same way that the NBA added the 3-point line, got rid of hand checking, and has been progressive, baseball is seemingly scared to do so. And I think that they have real opportunity to set themselves up for the future or die quick.
We've changed the layout of our show. I'm very confused, but
that just happened.
I think this is something else, but baseball is exploring multiple different rule changes. I think there's an argument to be made that I would never make this argument as someone who loves all sports equally, but there's an argument to be made that basketball has adjusted the rules a lot, and there's a little bit room for improvement on the rules. That's just me, but baseball is definitely exploring different things. The problem with baseball is that it is naturally a very slow moving sport, and there's nothing you can do about that. Like, they can only speed up how long they take to pitch so much, and like there's only so much they can do in that way. So I agree with you on that, but I do think there's a lot to baseball, and I'm excited about this upcoming year.
I think it will be a big year if they allow these players. I mean, if we see who was my man? Was it Tatis? Hits a bomb and then becomes the dude that everyone doesn't like because he was like pumped about it.
That wasn't true. That was like a media created thing.
Is like shimmying all over people's face for hitting 40-point threes. And that's what sells.
Here's my perspective on that. I love bat flipping. I also love that you have to eat it on the way back the other way too. Like, if you're gonna get beamed in the neck because you bat flipped, like,
great.
That's part of it. But that's always been the thing in baseball. Like, you can bat flip, you're just gonna get cracked.
He to apologize.
But that's because his manager made him. That's his manager being whack.
That manager out of the game.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Aligned. I want Tatis to bat flip
top down.
I want him to put a bat on Mars every single time he hits a home run.
Me too.
I'm also not
Harper to come around third base, throw the helmet off, let the locks fly, and slide into home base face first.
No, what was that game, Slugfest? If MLB just became Slugfest, that'd be lit.
That would be great. I love it. I think that's a good.
Much more excited for Optic Football. Way more excited. Football. I'm interested to see the aspect. I think a lot of people have forgotten about is COVID pushed all of these football products back that would have already been released. The season's over, right? There's no more football. Football's done for a while now. You're going to have the draft here in a couple of months. So you have that coming up, but there's no football. Optic's out before the season's over, right? So the fact that Optic's not out, Select's not out, NT, I'm eager to see how that affects the card market for football specifically as basketball ramps up into the All-Star break, and then towards the end of the year, baseball gets started, hockey's getting ready to come, or hockey is on now. So, intriguing to see how that affects the resale market of Optic with football being over. So
I'm slightly confused by the NBA doing an All-Star game. I'm just going to put that out there.
Yeah, LeBron came out and was not a fan of it. But with that said, we can talk about that on the next show.
See you guys next week.
Peace.